Um, well, it's a pleasure to meet you. Welcome to Premier Group. I'm sure you're getting a lot thrown at you here these first couple days or week or so.
That's
How's
an
everything going?
understatement. It's been going great. It is a waterfall of information on top of daily life, so it's been a lot, but it's been a good experience so far.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm more than happy. We'll dive in a little bit about who you're talking to on the line and maybe some of our background here in a minute. But I'd love to start off these calls maybe just by asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself. I know our BDM, I think you worked with Eric Fierro, but our BDMs give us a short little bio. But I always like to hear from your own words, sort of what your experience is with insurance, how you got to Premier, maybe your understanding of commercial, and anything else that would be good for us to know about you so that we can figure out how best to help you.
Yeah, no problem. So, I started selling insurance as kind of like a side gig to my main job. I used to
Mhm.
work for a line pipeline company out in South Texas where I
Yeah.
just sat in a vehicle all day. So I was just bored to death. So I got my insurance license to make more money while I was sitting there.
Okay.
My side gig kind of took over. It became more of a full-time thing. So I left that company, started selling for an independent agency, kind of like PGI, but I didn't have to pay anything per month. But
Okay.
that company had some internal issues that I didn't really enjoy. Payments wouldn't come on time. You couldn't guarantee anything. And I sold a couple of commercial policies with that company. I still have a client. They want to come over to me. It's an
Okay.
apartment complex with like 10 buildings, and
Great.
there's trying to think of a few more. I know a big community of truckers. Um, I did lose a business. All the business insurance I've written, I didn't really write. I had the head of that insurance agency kind of help me out, and she called
Okay.
the underwriters and did everything for me, helped me fill out the 125s and the 126s. Um, So I don't know a lot about business insurance, but I've written policies and I've heard the lingo. Sorry, it's my daughter. I've heard the lingo. I've been around it. And I was going to say a second ago, I lost a policy to a family friend of mine who owns his own pumpkin patch and tree farm and kind of like this, like kind of seasonal area where
Yep.
he wanted to do business with me, but since I didn't know the how to write his business, I was dependent on someone else, and it's she kind of dropped the ball
Uh-huh.
with the quoting, and it took us forever to get the quotes back, and she didn't know where to put them, and that was a real frustrating event because it was I was the face that he had to look at, and I had to deliver the bad news, and I just know if I knew what was going on, I could have treated him with more respect
Sure.
and dealt it in a timely manner. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my whole experience with business insurance here.
Got it. And what brought you to Premier? How did you find us?
I sold for a life insurance company. I still sell for them.
Okay.
Herman Sons in Texas. And Robin Zarnick, I don't know if y'all know her. She used to work for
I
PGI.
Yep. I do know Robin. Yes.
Robin pulled me aside one day and saw my frustrations with my other company, and she goes, "Look, bud, you can do this."
Right.
So hooked me up with Eric Fierro, got me in connection with him. Next thing you know, I'm here.
Great.
Zoom meetings, and emails.
Yeah. Zoom meetings, and emails. Yeah. The nonstop deluge is happening here. Well, thanks so much for telling us a little bit about yourself and sharing. And I think that we're excited to meet you and excited to help you as you, um, progress through your journey of opening up your own independent agency or furthering your independent agency development. And we've got some really um, sort of some tried and true trainings and methods to help people get launched in the commercial lines realm. And we'll go through that in just a minute. I have a short presentation that I'll go through with you here in a minute. But since you were kind enough to share a little bit about yourself, I'll tell you a little bit about me. Um, so again, my name's Matt Genova. I'm the director of commercial lines at Premier Group. I oversee everything that goes on at Premier, from sort of a internal corporate initiatives perspective to agent relationships and agent deliverables to carrier relationships and special programs with our carriers. So really just overviewing everything that we do here at Premier. We have a team of 8 individuals that work in our commercial lines department. The majority of them are commercial lines business consultants who work day in and day out with our agents to help them in a variety of different factors and in different ways. And so I'll go through that here in the presentation, exactly what you can expect from your business consultant. Then we also have a small team that does some service work for a small segment of our agents who choose to utilize our commercial line service center. But about me, I'm originally a native of Massachusetts, came out to Colorado a lifetime ago to go to the University of Colorado, and had a great tenure there. Left school and traveled around and did a bunch of different careers. I was in business-to-business sales in Southern California for a while. I did some real estate development sales on the other coast, in the southeast coast of North Carolina for a while, and did that and had a great time with it until the 2007 recession hit, and then went to work for about a year without collecting a paycheck. And so I said, well, I've got to find something else to do. And somebody told me, you realize that if you sell a policy in the insurance world, it pays you every single year. And so this was a mind explosion type of a moment for me to say, wow, okay, maybe I'm in the wrong business. And so, like so many other people, stumbled into insurance and really haven't looked back. It's been about, like I said, about 15 years since that happened. And my first job in insurance was as a commercial lines producer. And it was, as you can imagine, I went out, ran out, got my insurance license, got a job working for an independent agency, and my boss dropped the yellow pages on my desk and said, now you got your license, go sell. And that was the extent of my training, other than getting my license, essentially. And so it was a pretty painful process. It really was. I really wasn't very good at it, to be quite honest with you, but I stumbled along through some relationships that I had with some local business owners and whatnot, and started, okay. But I decided to invest in my own education and started taking CIC classes to try to learn the insurance a little bit better, learn the industry a little bit better. And I ran into a friend of mine who I'd grown up with, actually, who was in the same business, and he was a commercial producer as well and had been very successful, and worked for another firm. And he kind of put the proverbial arm around my shoulder and said, hey, you're not really doing this the right way. Let me help you out. And so he kind of coached me along a little bit, was a good mentor for me, and helped me learn a little bit more about how to write commercial insurance. And so, utilizing some of those tips and tricks, I started to understand how the business worked a little bit, and was able to start building a commercial book that was, pretty respectable, actually, in my home state. I was back in Massachusetts at the time. And then through a little bit of just maybe agency necessity and a little bit of capability on my part, started taking on more roles within the agency. So I started, managing some of the team, doing some of the service management, some of the production management, and then eventually started into the total agency operations. And so did that for a while, and then moved out to Colorado about 7 years ago, and ended up joining one of the largest independent firms here in the city. It's a group called CCIG, and about 100 employees, $22 million revenue shop. And I oversaw, at that time, the entirety of their small commercial insurance division, which was accounts $10,000 a year in revenue and under. So premium size is really up to about $150,000, $200,000 in premium size. And had a good run there, but I had about 22 direct reports working for me, and I got a little burnt out. So I decided to go on a sabbatical, and I found my way to Premier Group, had a conversation with Sean Walker and Rex Hickling, and realized that Premier would really be a great opportunity for me personally, because I'd be able to take a lot of the experiences that I'd had over the last 15 years in the commercial insurance world, and try to help our agent network get a little bit better. So I looked at this really as an opportunity to build a consulting company almost for our agents, where we do a lot of different things to help you think about writing individual pieces of business, but more than that, how to develop a commercial book. So and then maybe talking about some of those tips and tricks that were taught to me along the way to help agents learn the commercial practice. And so I've been with Premier a little over a year, and it's been a great year. Our commercial department grew by 40% last year, and we're on trajectory to grow another 40% through the first 2 months of this year. So more of our agents are writing more commercial business than ever before, and I'd like to believe that I have a little piece in that. And my goal is to help you build a commercial practice first and foremost. So that's my story. And I'm glad to share it with you and excited to work with you a little bit here and have my team work with you. So I know that John sent you a bio, but I don't know if John, you want to introduce yourself or
Sure.
talk at all about, your background.
Yeah, the why of why I came to PGI is sort of kind of mirrored my past. I was a wholesaler of distribution of alternate bank products through financial institutions, and I was a wholesaler, which is basically probably another term for business consultant. And so I was assigned to producers within that were employees of the bank. I had strategic products in the industry I was in. They were called shelf products, and I had the top shelf product, and I had 2 or 3 of them. And all I had to do was train and guide the producers, and we had the products that I sold had top ratings, AM Best, Moody's, S&P ratings. And I sold that business in 2014. I was in that business for 14 years. And with all the mergers that were going on in the bank arena, was basically the banks took what I was doing inside and direct. But I enjoy insurance, and so I moved on to property and casualty and personal lines. I started doing that with a company, independent agency here in Colorado, for the first 4 years doing personal lines. So I know what the majority of our agents here at PGI are. The core of their business is personal lines, but Matt has structured the commercial lines unit as sort of like we're business planners, consultants for our personal lines agents, and we're bringing them into the commercial lines area. And my last 4 years at the independent agency I was with here in Colorado was working almost entirely commercial lines. And so I've made that progression, and that's between the business planning, the wholesale background, personal lines, and moving now over here to PGI, which is the why I was attracted here to work with people like you to help build your business, be your business consultant, and help you in business. Excuse me, this have to stand up to get this light to work. I'm in a quiet room here just off where my desk is. So yeah, my job being a consultant, business consultant for you to help guide you in your business, and that's sort of what guided me, and I was successful with until the banks took over our wholesaling position. I really enjoy doing this and look forward to working with you, John. So that's my background and why I'm here.
Thanks, John.
That's amazing, guys. I'm
yeah.
really glad and excited to work with both of y'all.
Yeah. Hey, John, before I share my screen and we go through a quick presentation about who we are at Commercial, do you have any questions at all?
No, not at the moment. I'm just excited to learn.
Cool. Excellent. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here, and we will dive in. Just grab the right. All right. So this is my title screen. As you can see, it's very creatively titled Welcome to Commercial Lines. So this is where we'll start. First thing I always like to do for our agents is really just tell you what our mission statement is in the commercial lines department at Premier. So our job, as we see it, is to provide training, guidance, and business consulting, along with strategic carrier access to support your development of a thriving and profitable commercial insurance practice. So Essentially, John, everything we do here orbits around the mission statement, son. It's all the initiatives that we put in place, they're really here and encapsulated in this statement. And the goal for us really is that you develop that thriving, and then the crucial word there is profitable commercial insurance practice. So we want this to be something that's meaningful for your agency and the agency growth and the revenue development, because we're all in this business to grow and to make money. And so that's our focus for you. A lot of times we, as John Straight had mentioned, a lot of our agents come to us from the captive world, which has very limited commercial lines appetite. And so they've really focused their business on the personal line side. So this slide is really created to help agents understand why they should be excited. This is a brand new opportunity for a lot of agents to write in the commercial lines world. And essentially, the reason why you want to write in this space is going to help you grow faster. It's going to be a rocket boost for your agency development. There are larger margins in commercial lines. Our premiums tend to be much higher than on the personal line side, which means that we can bring in more revenue with fewer clients, which lessens our service load. Premiums tend to go up over time. So if you think about a commercial lines business, businesses are in business to be successful. They tend to grow. They add employees. They sell more widgets. They maybe add more vehicles or buy more property. All of those things affect the rating bases of a commercial lines policy, which causes the premium to go up. And business owners tend to understand that. As my business grows, I'm going to pay more for my insurance. And so that's a different relationship than what we see on the personal line side, where typically we tend to try to drive the prices down year over year based on remarket quotes and whatnot. And so it's a good place to be, that the business that you write today, if you can retain it, tends to go up in value to your agency over time. The commercial lines book adds some diversification. So you're just having more variability, and you're not as susceptible to potentially some of the marketing trends that might happen in the personal line side, or captive or direct writers coming after your personal lines book, because the 85% of the commercial lines book is written in the independent agent space. We tend to have more advisory relationships. If you think about, a business like a landscaping contractor or something like that, typically there's going to be a bunch of policies. So there's going to be a general liability policy, a commercial property policy, workers' compensation, auto, probably a commercial umbrella policy if they're doing any commercial work. And so that's 5 insurance policies right there. And so the relationship tends to be more advisory based as opposed to transactionally based. And so that leads to higher retention and stickier relationships. It allows you to build deeper relationships with your business partners. And honestly, there's so much more I could go into. We're obviously excited about it. This is our life day in and day out. We hope that we're helping you to get excited about this opportunity as well. So we do have a few ways that you can engage with our commercial lines department. I'd like to address all 3 of them right here on this call so that you have a firm understanding of what's available to you as an agent at Premier Group. Path 1, these are also creatively named Path 1, 2, and 3, but Path 1, this is where you as the agent control and build your own commercial practice. If you think about it from this perspective, you as the agent will prospect your own insureds. You'll do all the quoting, the issuing, and the servicing of all of your commercial lines business. This is where you essentially build your own practice. It's full commission and ownership per your PGI contract. You get a dedicated commercial lines business consultant, and we'll talk about their role here in just a minute. And we view this as best for your agency growth and profitability because you get to retain the full commission, you get to retain the full relationship with your insured. We do have a second pathway. This was generated last year. We got a lot of feedback from some agents who said, look, Matt, I really am interested in writing commercial lines, but I don't know that I have the capacity to service the commercial lines accounts that I bring in. And so we built our own commercial line service center. So path 2, if we think about path 2, it's where you as the agent will write the business, and our team here out of our Colorado office does the day in and day out service work for you. So you're responsible for the prospecting, quoting, and issuing of the policy. Our CL Service Center handles the day-to-day service. And there's a fee for this. It's a commission split that changes your contract. It goes from from your contract percentage to 50-50. We obviously have to fund our commercial line servicing team, so there's a fee involved in that. But you still retain the full ownership and the vesting agreement per your contract, and you still get that dedicated commercial lines business consultant to support you as you're looking at all the things that they can do to help you out. So lastly, we have Path 3. This is where essentially our agents have said, hey, Matt, I love this presentation, just not going to get involved with commercial lines. I'm just so focused on personal insurance. That's where I want to concentrate all my time, or maybe I'm not ready to write commercial lines. So we developed our third pathway. This is where the agent would refer all their commercial opportunities over to us. This is hands off, so there's no prospecting, quoting, issuing, or servicing. We do it all for the agent. The commission split changes accordingly. It's only 25%. It's more of a referral fee for the agent, and then 75% comes to us at home office. And the bigger difference here is you're no longer building a book, so there's no ownership of the commercial lines referral. It always, in any sort of a referral relationship, ownership always goes to the selling agent, and so that's the way we structured that process here. Before I move on, do you have any questions about these pathways?
No, not at all. Pretty straightforward, and they all seem pretty fair.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, glad. I appreciate that. We're going to proceed as if you're going path 1. Just so you know, if you want to change that at any time, just let us know. We can get you the contract addendum for you to read through, and you can make any changes accordingly. But we're just going to move along here as if you're going to go that first path. So the next thing I really want to sort of touch on here is your timelines, what to expect. I love to start off these calls by saying, I'll bet you're drinking from the fire hose right now. And so that was confirmed. So the first 30 days that we have you here, there's really not a whole lot to do. Just get some introductions set up, get comfortable with everything that you're being asked to do at Premier Group, with your technology, with understanding who everybody is, what different departments do for you. I know you're probably hearing from personal lines, accounting and commissions, potentially marketing, definitely licensing. All these people are coming at you. So find out who everybody does and what we do. And then if you do nothing in those first 30 days except our commercial lines training curriculum, you're well on your way. You're well on your way to be successful with our group. I'll go through the commercial lines training curriculum here in just a minute. So 30 to 60 days out, hopefully you've completed the commercial lines curriculum. This is when we're going to jump back on another call. We'll do some business planning, maybe talk to you about how to launch your practice. We'll start to talk about getting you access to various carriers and then doing carrier specific training. And then usually after a couple months here is when we're ready to really launch, to say, okay, let's get out there and try to generate some opportunities. Let's prospect a little bit. Let's start to work some of those relationships we might have and get ourselves some early wins. We start developing some confidence as well as some competence in the commercial lines space. And then after 90 days, this is really where you're out there starting to build, I kind of call it the snowball effect. You start with a little ball and then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You start to build your commercial practice. We start to work with more and more carriers. We start to work with different types of industries and get some experience in some different areas. We'll have some regular check-ins with your business consultant over time. You're certainly free to reach out to that individual at any time that you might need to, or reach out to John, I should say. He's not an individual, he's a real person. You can reach out to John anytime and sort of ask him, for guidance in any number of different ways. And we'll talk about that again in just a minute here. So, okay, so our commercial lines training curriculum. What we have is right now a group of training videos that we've recorded. And I do apologize because it's a lot of me talking, but it's a lot of really great content. Actually, the content was developed off of the commercial lines coverage specialist designation course. And so what we go through are really 6 training videos for core coverage lines. And what that is the business owner's policy. We're going to go through the commercial package, which is the general liability and the property policy and the auto policy. We'll talk about workers' compensation, and then we'll do an introduction to excess and surplus lines policies and markets. There's an agency billing class, which is taught by our accounting department, which I, which you will need to take at some point in time, which is part of the core training curriculum. And then we also do easy links for commercial lines. So those top three bullet points here are really important for you. Easy links will teach you how to do all the functionality using the agency management system for the day-to-day servicing of your clients. In addition to that, we have two sort of tier 2 training curriculums. Number 4 is our commercial pillars for success training. This is a more of a closer deep dive into both, into the pipeline sales and retention strategies to write commercial lines, how to sell commercial, like how to prospect, how to sell, and how to retain your commercial lines business. And then we actually are really excited that this year we've developed a commercial lines production school for our agents. Really cool. It's modeled after some of our carrier production schools, which oftentimes can cost thousands of dollars, but for PGI agents, it's free. It's a 16-week program. We're actually on session 3 of our first program that we've put in place, but we're going to be starting another one in Q3 of this year. And it consists of 8 learning classes or 8 learning sessions, and then some in-agency activities in between those learning sessions, just really help you sort of dive into developing a commercial practice. We do limit it to 30 agents per session. This is because we want to keep it interactive and manageable as a group, and create a sort of a peer group of agents who are going through the class together, who can become friends and sort of a support group for each other over time. So when this call is completed, you'll be getting a 1-page Word document that's going to have links to these training videos for everything 1 through 4. And then if you have an interest in the commercial lines production school, we'll be looking at Q3 maybe to get you involved in that program. Do you have any questions about the curriculum?
No, not at all.
Okay, great. All right, so let's dive a second into our carrier access strategy. And in commercial lines, I like to present this a little bit as saying that the playing field in commercial lines is different than in personal. In personal lines, the risk profile of the home and an auto is very similar, whether you're in Texas or Michigan or Virginia or California. It's really a home and an auto. And so the personal lines carriers will all raise their hand for it. There's very similar types of coverage that would go into it no matter where you are. And so it's a pretty uniform risk profile. Characteristics of the risk change. So the age of the drivers, the types of cars they're driving, they can influence the rates, but the risk profiles themselves are pretty uniform. Throw that out the window when it comes to commercial lines. The risk profiles of different types of businesses are vast and very different from one another. A landscape contractor is fundamentally different than a bakery, which is fundamentally different than an optometrist's office, which is different than a manufacturing plant. So when we think about carrier access, we don't do it the same way that we do on the personal line side. On the personal line side, we tend to sort of back up the dump truck and spill out a bunch of carriers, get them all assigned into your Easy Links multi-rater and say, okay, go after it. Because while there are differences in the personal line space, they're not as vast as they are in commercial. So we find that the best way to help agents be successful in commercial lines is by starting with a narrower and more focused carrier access strategy. And so we start with maybe 5 to 7 of our most powerful carrier relationships, oftentimes are big national brokers, big brand names that you've heard of, like Liberty Mutual, Travelers, Nationwide, Hartford, and Progressive for commercial auto are kind of our starting point. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, it makes it more easy for you to learn both the carriers, their appetites, what they're writing, and their systems, because a lot of it is done individually and not through multi-raters on the commercial line side. We also want to take advantage of better than best in class compensation. So with our biggest carriers, we've negotiated, due to our size, just way better compensation than you would get on the street, even if you were appointed with them directly. So oftentimes we get frontline commission, we'll get an override. Sometimes we'll get some fun things like spin to win, where you can win some prizes or whatever with those carriers. And then big time feature here is we get profit sharing with those carriers. And so always our goal, if you go back to my first slide and my mission statement, is I want to make you a profitable agency, is that we want to drive growth and flow with specific carriers so that we can earn our profit sharing. And so that's a really important feature for us. We want to get you appointed with an agent subcode with specific carriers so you can start to earn that extra, 3%, 5%, 6% at the end of the year on what you've produced with that carrier. We'll add additional carriers to support your strategic plan. So over time, if you're bringing to us types of risks that need additional carriers to support it, or even at the beginning, if you have specific risks that you're looking to get supported with, we can add those carriers and make sure that you can get trained on those, and they can help you build your book in the way that you want to. And then from an E&S perspective, we want to build narrow but deep wholesale connections. So working with fewer and more quality wholesale connections rather than running out there and getting appointed with every MGA and wholesale broker that's out there. It isn't always efficient and easy to manage. So we just try to keep a focused approach to that. So I'll talk a little bit about John, your commercial business consultant. He's here to help you launch. He's going to do some business planning with you. So in that business call, once you've completed that core curriculum, we'll go through some carrier appetites and hit lists when we appoint carriers for you. We'll start to select potentially some target industries for you to focus on, which will make your life vastly easier in the commercial line space. So you can research the benefits of being in a niche versus being a total generalist. I like to call it majors and minors. Like I'm going to college, I want to focus most of my coursework in my majors or my minors. If I want to take an elective like 17th century Renaissance art, that's fun. It's the spice of life, but I wouldn't want to build my life on it. I'd rather take econ and business to sort of structure my college education. And I kind of feel the same way about commercial lines. We'll do some pipeline development strategies, prospecting strategies. A lot of this you can get from those training videos, the pillars of commercial success, along with goal setting, activity planning, and tracking, that sort of stuff. Consultation and support. So long term, the business consultant here is really help you with pre-call planning. You got an opportunity to go out on a risk. You might want to call us and say, what information do I need to gather? Do I have the correct supplemental applications? Which carrier should I be thinking about engaging with for this opportunity? So that's sort of the risk placement guidance stuff. Long term, we can talk about presentations, sales strategies. We can review coverage and the quotes, those types of things. We're here really to ultimately help you get you wins. Over time, we can talk about client onboarding, various deliverables for your insureds. Maybe it's working with a carrier service center. Maybe it's some loss control materials, whatever it might be. And then we can also assist you with some consultation on the day-to-day service and retention strategies for you. Any questions about the commercial lines business consultant role?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, cool. I'm going to try to wrap up because we're going 5 minutes past, but let me roll through this here quickly. So again, going back to that first slide, agency growth and profitability is our target. And so you'll hear things from us over time about being focused, being targeted, being strategic with your risk placement. We preach something called carrier out planning and prospecting, which means understand the carriers that you're appointed with, what they like to write, what they win on in your area, and go find that business. It's kind of like, knowing you got a round hole and go finding the round peg, as opposed to trying to fit the square pegs in the round holes when they come to you. Makes your life vastly easier on the commercial line side. We want to create deep relationships. So we want to work with fewer carriers more often so that we can maximize commissions and overrides and drive revenue to our book. And then we want to talk about profit sharing. Long term, this is where you can really, increase the revenue to your agency. So we want to build books of size with a focus on risk quality. So we want to make sure that we're writing profitable, we're writing accounts that aren't having a ton of losses. I'll put it that way. We want to generate the flow with those target carriers so we can secure those proportional bonuses for you. And then, longer term, agency operations is key. So what are our service strategies so we can maximize retention? Can we partner with carrier service centers? If you're looking to hire somebody, maybe what are their roles and responsibilities? What are the compensation strategies? All those things are things we can help you out with. We can utilize our carrier resources, of which are vast. Our carriers are big, massive, Fortune 100 companies. A lot of times they have a ton of resources that we can dive into to help you both in your agency and your professional growth, as well as supporting your insureds with, a lot of different services or products and those types of things. So the last slide is just encouraging, you can do this. We're super excited to have you here. We've created the path. We are happy to show you the way. You're going to have to do a lot of work. I'm convinced that our agents who have signed up to be in this business are not scared of doing some work. You'll make mistakes. Don't worry about it. We all have. I made plenty. and that's okay. You just got to learn from them. Utilize your resources, both us, your carrier partners, over time will be extremely important resources for you. We want you to be excited about this and to have fun in this process. So, last thing I'll say is that our team is well aware of the financial and emotional commitment that you've made to join Premier Group. We honor and respect that commitment, and you know that you're going to get 100% of our team's efforts to help you be successful. That's our number one goal. So that's my presentation.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Any questions?
I mean, throughout the entire thing, no, not at the moment. I know as soon as I start diving into it, I'm going to start having questions. And that's kind of what John's here for, though, right?
Yep.
That's
Our
right.
whole team. Yeah, but John here can help you out with it. After this call, John will send you the one-page, basically video library is what we call it. And you can dive in. I don't have a good metric for following up with you to make sure that you've watched all the videos, other than you just sort of saying, hey, I've gotten this all done, so I'd like to get my carrier access started. So we kind of go a little bit on Scout's honor at this point, but please take some time. It'll only benefit you to watch those videos. You can do one a day. You could dive and do them all in one night, although you'll get really sick of me if you do that, I promise you. But there's a lot of good stuff in there, and it's good quality content, I think, and it is based off of, like I said, a designation. I built all of it off of the commercial lines coverage specialist designation stuff. So I can't give you a designation, but you'd be well on your way to getting it if you ever wanted to go for it.
Well, perfect. Well, I'll start working on them as soon as they come through, and I guess
Cool.
Me and John will stay in communication. I'll just let him know when I'm ready to move forward.
Yeah, and then we'll start talking
Okay.
a little bit about the carrier access side of things. All right.
Perfect.
But it's a pleasure to meet you. I appreciate you spending
Likewise.
40 minutes of your day with us today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And we'll let you get back to, trying to figure out all the other stuff that you have to do here now that you're with Premier.
I really do appreciate that, because it's a lot.
All right. Hey, John, thanks a lot. Have a great rest of your day. Appreciate it.
You too. Bye, guys.
All right, take care.
Bye, John. Bye now.